Of course, we talked about this a little bit last week. Again, just kind of the speculation around it. Again, surprised that they hadn't made the hire yet, but just overall, what's your thoughts? I know you had a chance to dive into Ekeler just a little bit, but what are your thoughts overall on the hire? And what are some of the things that you learned about it?
If there was a home run hire, this was it. This was probably, I think, not only just from a fan standpoint, the number one guy we all were clamoring for as the special teams coordinator. But I think probably for Matt Rule too. I think this was his number one guy. We've got numbers we can dive into later, but this is a monster hire. And one number I'll jump into real quick is the year before Ekeler showed up at Tennessee, their special teams efficiency was 93rd.
Yeah.
And they were 11th immediately the year following, 2nd, 36th, and 9th. So they had basically, in 3 or 4 years, they had a top 15 special teams efficiency ranking. Nebraska is like 126 one year, I think. So I'm so freaking pumped about this hire.
Yep. Yeah, and I broke down kind of the PFF numbers too of their special teams kind of before he took over and then after he took over. Just did an incredible job. Like it showed up all over the numbers, all over the PFF numbers and everything. And I think, we could talk a little bit about what Matt Rule talked about on Saturday when he was referencing the special teams. And I'll get your take on this. He said that schemes, weren't the issue, that it was a lot of long snapping issues. That was a lot to do with. But when he talks about schemes not being the issue, like I understand that to an extent, but my take on it is like our special teams just has not been aggressive in terms of we're not returning punts. We're barely returning any punts, whether they're inside the 5-yard line or not. It's been mind numbing to see us field the ball at the 5-yard line and or field the ball with nobody within 10, 15 yards of them and fair catching it. It's like they fair catch it as soon as it's off the punter's leg,
I'm fairly confident they were basically told to just fair catch it immediately. I mean, IGC wasn't a great or even a good punt returner.
Yep.
But even when he had 15 yards, like you were saying, he's fair catching it. And then the few times he did return it, he was like totally ineffective. He seemed lost back there.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Ja'Cory wasn't back there more often. I mean, he didn't get a lot of opportunities, but I thought he brought something, a little spice or something to that kick return or the punt returns that we should have been using him more.
Yeah, 100%. And that's another thing too. It's just like personnel, like they weren't being used properly. Like we could name probably 3 people we'd rather have back there. And like, again, IGC was, he's got, tenure here. He's got experience, but I just don't feel like he had still that same, threat that he had before his injuries. He's not as big of a threat. And you want somebody who can kind of be a game changer and potentially break one. And, be able to be shifty out there, get you some few extra yards, especially when it was, as hard as it was for Nebraska to kind of move the ball throughout the season. They needed all the help they can get, in those punt return yards as well. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody kind of asks those questions. But for sure that Mike Ekeler is going to be one of those guys that wants to be aggressive. Mike talking about it here with just his energy. And I think that's one of the biggest things that stand out to most people is he brings a fire and intensity. And I think that we're going to see that kind of throughout the special teams where it's, no more of just the conservative. We're going to, fair catch it every time. There's going to be aggression and he's going to try to win, the battle of the special teams, which we need to do. You got to be there in all phases.
One thing about Ekeler too is keep this in mind. At Tennessee, he was having this elite special teams unit year in and year out with primarily walk-ons, redshirt freshmen, and true freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
And Nebraska was playing upperclassmen like IGC, for example.
Yep.
Gifford, I believe, was on the punt. Was he on the punt return or punt team? One of the two. But they were playing with a lot of upperclassmen, and they were just completely anemic.
Yep.
So there's a lot of data to support that Ekeler is going to be the guy to do the job. Now, you might not be able to go out and say, hey, we're going to play a bunch of walk-ons and freshmen now because of the 105, but you're still going to be able to have some younger guys there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things too, is like, finding some people who are specifically going to be able to go out there and play with that, that edge on the special teams who may be vying for playing time, a little bit further back in the depth chart and just trying to, go out there and make a play. But you got to put your best players on the field. And I just feel like we didn't do that in terms of the return game. I feel like even though we had a dedicated special teams coach, it's almost as if we, would have been the same off if we didn't have one. Yeah. And now him coming in, he's probably going to have his focus specifically. He kind of coached outside linebackers and special teams over there. So now he's going to have his focus specifically on just the special teams and have an opportunity to just kind of turn everything around completely.
The one thing about Mike that I read in an interview recently, that he had kind of reshaped his coaching career, where at Nebraska, he was the outside linebackers coach. Yep. Then he went to like USC, North Carolina, Georgia. He went all over. But he basically said, okay, I'm going to be the best damn special teams coach in America. And then he honed in on that. And he's made that like his mission, where I'm going to be a special teams coordinator for the rest of my career. I'm going to be the best one at it. And he's completely changed his career trajectory. Yeah.
And another thing too that I think will kind of benefit our special teams that isn't talked about as much as he's a great recruiter, and he was great at talent, like just discovering talent or finding the talent while recruiting. So he's going to be able to come in here and be able to pinpoint players that fit kind of what he wants to do in that special teams unit, and be able to kind of pick and choose his guys that he wants out there, because you got to believe he's going to have full control of everything that happens there. So maybe his eye will be able to come in here and bring some guys that he's like, no, we need him on special teams. We need this guy on special teams. And that talent identification will help a lot too.
Speaking of talent identification, if you think back to when he was originally at Nebraska, this was his linebacker room. Levante David, arguably top 5 linebacker in NFL history.
Yep.
Will Compton, year 10 is in doubt, but he played 9 or 10 years in the NFL.
Yep.
Philip Dillard played in the NFL. Trevor Roach was a walk-on that had a cup of coffee in the NFL. That's 4 guys off the top of my head.
Yep. Yeah.
He can identify talent.
He can identify talent, and his track record speaks for himself. And like you said, he just kind of wanted to commit to being the best special teams coach in the country. I think that's part of that fire, right? That competitive energy. Like, he just wants to be the best, no matter what he's doing. Like, he has the desire to be the best. And so now he's going to want Nebraska's special teams to be the best. And I think, with it being, him having a previous, stint with the program and having deeper, love for the program too, I'm sure he kind of took that personal, coming in and realizing how bad the special teams actually was. And I think he wants to hit that challenge head on and just kind of, just flip it around quick as possible. So, but it'll be interesting to see for sure. Anything else on Mike Ekeler before we move forward?
No, we're good.
All right, cool. Let me go through some of the comments here. Or return the punt from our own 3-yard line rather than letting it bounce for a touchback. Yeah, that was infuriating. Just, if it's in the 10-yard line, like, just let it bounce at that point. Dang, NM, New Mexico. I don't know what NM means. Do you know what?
New Mexico.
Is it? Dang it, New Mexico. It's a happy day. Pit snipe. I don't know what you're talking about half the time, but I love it. In 4 years, they had 1 kick or a PAT block. Nebraska had like 10. Yeah, it was.
I have that data actually. If you really want to know the exact numbers,
go ahead.
Nebraska, where was it? I have it on my sheet here. Sorry. Oh gosh, I lost it. I think Nebraska had, it was 7 blocked kicks, 4 blocked PATs, and Tennessee had none.
Interesting.
I had it on my sheet. I just totally lost it.
And let's see. What's up, Caleb? Appreciate you hopping in here at BA Coaches Show. Thank you for jumping in. If y'all haven't had a chance, drop a like on the stream. Helps people get in here, helps people see it on their feed, their algorithm. So, and we have somebody who was asking about, where is it at? Oh, yeah. How was Tennessee with field goals? So looking at Max Gilbert. Yeah. Do you want to go and break that down? I got Max Gilbert up, the freshman kicker.
Yeah, you can pull his real quick if you want. I scroll real quick here.
Yeah, 20 for 26. So he's a true freshman kicker. 20 for 26, 76.9%, 4 for 4 from 20-29, 9 for 10 from 30-39, 4 for 6 from 40-49, and 3 for 6 from 50 plus. With a long of 52, he made all of his extra points. So that's a true freshman kicker too.
Yeah, and they had the USC transfer kicker a few years ago. He was 28 of 36 in 2 seasons, and then the year before Gilbert, where they had an Indiana transfer that was 18 of 23. So,
Yep,
substantially better than anything Nebraska has. Which I'm actually higher on John Hull than I think most people are for some reason. I was impressed with him once he had a snap.
I was too. I was a Alvano apologist for a long time because I know he has it in him, but I don't know what it was. It was the mental, like, because kicking is a lot of
weird,
mental.
Man.
Yeah, to get the yips.
Yeah, remember Alex Henry was the greatest in college football history statistically, and then he's out of the NFL in 2 years.
Look at Roberto Aguayo. Like the Buccaneers spent a 3rd-round pick on him, which was unheard of. They traded
up too.
Yeah, which was unheard of.
Same thing. He was like 2 years and done. It's weird.
It is. It's such a mental game, and like, you know, when it's that point once you get where you're thinking too much. And not just like flowing with your fundamentals, you get tight. You know, if you're thinking you're going to be tight, you're not going to be able, you know, it's just muscle memory, you know, kind of going through the same process over and over. And if you're thinking too much about that, you're going to overthink it. You're going to be tight and you're going to mess something up, you know.
Ironically, like our kickers coach too, Brett Maher, we saw that in the playoffs, man. That was abysmal. Yep. His crash out was crazy to watch.
Terrible. Never mind me. Oh, gotcha. He's NM. Gotcha. So never mind me is not New Mexico. Good to see you, BA. I'm embarrassed to say I forgot about you. Dang. How dare you, Pit Snipe? Well, now you found
We did smelling salts on MBNR the other day.
Smelling salts. Those are a different animal, bro. Those, you know, those will make anybody kind of lose it. I don't think I saw that the clip of that, so I got to check that out. Maybe we can pull it up on stream in a second. Took a bit of mental health break too. Pit Snipe, we back now to focus on getting my new job. Hey, yeah, congratulations on that, BA, as well. Yeah, that's why I haven't been posting a ton of videos either. Just took a little break as well from posting videos. I had the personal training job that I've been training for and stuff like that. So getting back on that soon, and might have a announcement coming before too long. So y'all stay tuned for that. Let's see. What did Tennessee average punting compared to us? Do you have that number?
I sure do. I have punt return production. Is that okay? I didn't put the punt averages, but they're
I'll look at their punt. But go with what's that one?
So their punt return production, it's going from 2021 to 2024. So they averaged 11.7, which was ranked 9th nationally, 1st in the SEC, 16.55, which was 16th nationally and 2nd in the SEC, 12.33, which was 4th nationally and 1st in the SEC. And then last year, 15.7, which was 16th nationally and 1st in the SEC. So
nice.
Basically every year you're 16th or better and you're 1st or 2nd in the SEC.
Absolutely.
I can read Nebraska's, but it's pretty depressing.
I mean, we're already depressed enough anyway. Don't get any worse.
Nebraska in 2021 was at 2.7 yards per return, which was 128th national.
Wow, that's crazy.
Their best year was 2022, where they were 15.4.
That was Tommy Hill, right?
Was
that when Tommy Hill?
I don't remember who that was. The caveat to that, though, they only had 5 returns that season.
5 returns. So that might have been the Tommy Hill season because I think he was the last one with over 100 yards.
So your sample size is small.
Yeah, very.
And then
but goes to our point.
It was 3.
Goes to our point where they weren't returning any punts. So
yeah.
Looking at Jackson Ross, the Tennessee punter, 53 punts, 43.9 average, 57 long. So it looks like his average went up a little bit slightly year over year. Sophomore punter, but we got a hell of a punter this year. Jumping Jack. So I don't think punting is going to be too much of an issue with him.
What's crazy too is in their 4 years, in terms of the punt returns, they had 1,300 yards returning in 4 years. They allowed 130.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah. The numbers speak for themselves. Efficiency, and that's just going to help this team that much more. You know, again, the offense being sporadic last year, those yards could have come in handy in some of these one-score games. You never know. Or one of these returns, you could have accidentally broke one just because we're fair catching all the time. You never know. They change the game sometimes. So
you look at Iowa, like they are inept on offense.
Oh yeah,
they beat people because they always seem to have a really good returner, whether it's kick or punt or both. Nebraska can do that now.
And they execute at a high level. That's another
Yes.
thing too. Iowa just executes across the board, and sometimes that's all you need to do to outlast teams is just execute. More than them in the game. Whether you're out talented or not, sometimes just doing that can win you the game over a team that's way more talented than you. So,
Happened this year.
Yep. What's going on? Appreciate you hopping in here, man. Go Big Red. Hit that like button. Yes, if y'all don't mind, hit the like button. Appreciate that. Smelling salts and an OBA summers up the drunkest sailor. Mike can't type. It's okay, man. I can't talk half the time. So NBNR on Monday was a wild ride. Beer and smelling salts. I react to beer about as the same way I do smelling salts. I can't do beer, man. I'm the worst Texan ever. I know it's crazy coming from me. We were the worst. No stats necessary. What that should have said is that they did average yards wise per punt. Buschini was decent, but I'm guessing Tennessee was better.